A very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to today's edition of The Agenda. My name is Toiban Jabela, the host. Tonight we are unpacking the build-up to the Swapo elective congress that is taking place now in November. And to help us understand all issues related thereto is former Prime Minister Nahas Angula, who is a party veteran and an ordinary citizen right now, as he likes calling himself, as well as veteran journalist Tileni Mongudhi, to just help us unpack the subject. Gentlemen, Tadaguru, thank you for making time.
Thank you for having us here.
Yeah, thank you,
Mongudhi, for having us here.
Sure, wonderful. I think before we go into further details, the former Prime Minister you held a press conference this week at the party headquarters. It was a group of you that have expressed concern about a number of issues in the party. If you can give us a sense and background to that.
Well, what has been going on is as follows. Earlier this year, some comrades came to me concerned about the state of the Swapo party, so to say. This follows the losses Swapo suffered in the polls for the presidential elections and also for the parliamentary elections and the local government. Comrades were saying we need somebody who can bring us together so that we can put our opinions together to see whether we can approach the leadership to address some of these issues. Because the divisions in the party are so obvious, and perhaps some comrades exercised their protest vote by not going to the elections, to the ballot box, or perhaps they voted for other parties or something like that. So Swapo was badly affected by those elections. Regions in the south are gone. The coast, the very important Erosion region is gone. Then you have, of course, the Kunene and the Chandojupas, and then you see this the identity politics playing out. So comrades were worried about that. So I listened to them and they said, fine, you have to put your ideas on paper so that I can exercise my mind. So they did so. Then I told them that the best way to deal with this issue is, as Africans, if an African family has got some disagreements in the family, we have to bring the elders, normally bring the elders together, and the elders decide how they are going to bring their family together. So let us adopt that African tradition. Oh, they say, okay, fine. Then we have to start with the founding president. I say, fine, we start with the founding president, we brief him. Then the former president, Comrade Hifikepunye Pohamba, we did that. But we realized that these comrades' age and also their health condition are not of the best. So we decided, therefore, to make an appointment with the top three of the Swapo party. And they kindly granted us that appointment. So we met at the State House there for almost 3 hours, explaining to them what we see are the problems in the party. Of course, they listened very carefully. They made their initial comments and they promised to come back to us. Then we were waiting for them to come back to us. In their wisdom, they took the issue to the Central Committee with certain recommendations. Central Committee is rumored to have taken certain decisions and we were waiting for them to inform us what's next. Then we realized that these comrades will not come back to us. Let us conclude this process, but we should inform the public what we have been attempting to do so that there's no misunderstanding. So that's why we had the press conference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Mongudhi, you must have seen snippets of that press conference, the issues raised there, and the concerns that are being raised here, although he did not go into details, but at least in terms of losing ground in some regions that we've known. Your impression of that?
You see, I think the former Prime Minister would have to agree with me that it didn't have to take a rocket scientist or a group within the ruling party to admit or to say that there's something wrong. Publicly, we've all known that something is wrong. It's a pity that Swapo, in its nature, has been in denial or has played denialist politics. In my experience, let's go back to 2004. I don't know, maybe Honorable Angula will be able to give us a bit more background as to whether these divisions have been that bad since before 2004. But for me, I've seen 2004 as a Swapo changing character and changing identity. And for the first time also, that's also where you started seeing identity politics coming to the fore. But the issue of anti-democratic behavior is perhaps the one that got me in the last few congresses, where there's been allegations of people abusing power to force or push a certain candidate or force other candidates down people's throats. So these divisions have been simmering, and we all know that the reason why Swapo lost in 2019 and in 2020 regional local elections, and 2019 was the parliamentary and National Assembly and the presidential elections. Not to say lost, but yeah, they lost ground, serious ground, is exactly because there has been a feeling within the ruling party itself that democracy is gone, it's dead. There are party leaders who are abusing their positions, and also the issue of the elephant in the room, which is the current leadership has been accused of being there because they bribed their way. Let's call a spade a spade. The accusation is that the current leadership bought the leadership. They bought the Congress with fish rod money. There's no, people are saying, we can't say that, therefore the legitimacy of that leadership is being questioned. Therefore, some people then came and said, okay, we are going to vote alternatively, or we are going to stay away. So the question is then, I can ask the elder statesman here, is that, where did it go wrong for Swapo in terms of inter-party democracy and relationships with comrades amongst each other?
Well, Swapo, we should understand what Swapo is. Swapo is a broad church, accommodating people with different ideological positions. And always, the differences have been there, like in any other family, even during the struggle. You remember 1975, when we had the serious crisis in Zambia there. I was there, but in the wisdom of the leadership at the time, the Swapo appointed what was called the Yaoto Commission of Inquiry into the grievances. The grievances basically were generational. The difference between those of us who were outside was such that even me, who left Namibia in 65, when these comrades came 75, there was a difference of 10 years almost. So their perspectives were not quite the same as those of us who were there for some time. Then, of course, the enemy also had its own way of creating confusion and all that you cannot rule out. So the Auto Commission came up with recommendations, which led to Swapo holding a congress in Lusaka, in a place called Nampundu in Lusaka, in 1976, which revitalized the party, came up with a new political program with the amended constitution, which took us now up to 1989 when it came back. So differences have been coming, but it's the way you deal with them. The current one, you talk about 2004. 2004, we were still comrades. That we competed against each other. There were no money involved in that campaign. So when Comrade Pahamba won, he accommodated all of us. Those of us who didn't have too many problems with the leadership at that time. He was not vindictive, in other words. Then come 2012, things started to change from there. Leading to 2017, people became too much materialistic. The comradeship was superficial. The individuals who could bring people together were more vindictive than comradely. And that frustrated a lot of comrades as to what should be done to bring the party together. Then there is no ideological direction. There is no political cohesion.
Can I interrupt you a bit there? When you say that the comrades were superficial,
comradeship, the idea of comradeship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you saying that the ideology of some of the cadres was not that of the original party ideals? Is that what you are telling me?
Swapo stood for solidarity, justice, and freedom.
Okay.
Solidarity is a key. That's why, even in our most difficult times during the struggle, solidarity kept us together as comrades. We knew that I exist because you exist. So the idea of solidarity is not there, it's materialism. The party has degenerated simply into self-serving individuals.
Okay, so by materialism, I'm trying to define these things deliberately. By materialism, you are saying that there are people who were in it not to serve the greater good, but to serve their stomachs and make money from
that's exactly what it is.
Positions.
Most of the people who are running for Swapo positions, it's not because they have an ideal to serve the public. It is because that's the only avenue where you can get a job. It's like people used to go to Aranyamund, those days of the contract system. They go there because Aranyamund, CDM was paying better salaries. It's the same. There's no ideal that I am here to save society, not to save myself.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that. That's why corruption also crept in, because people started to compete for material benefits. Yeah, that is what corrupted Swapo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I understand. And I mean, I have to go back to the former Prime Minister again. So, all this evolution in the party's identity must have been long time coming. It's not something that just happened abruptly. And you know, there's always this feeling in Swapo that those of you that are no longer in the structures, that you have this newfound bravery and energy to speak out against certain things, when perhaps the degeneration of the party actually started with your generation of leaders?
Not really. There's no bravery here. Some of us are just speaking out because we think Swapo is the only organization in Namibia which can really advance the interest of the poor, the interest of the unemployed, the interest of people living in shacks, because of its origin. Swapo was founded in a compound, workers' compound, contract workers' compound. It is that origin that we owe it to the contract workers, and by extension to those who are somehow excluded. But now Swapo has become an elite organization. It's an organization of the elites. If you go to a public Swapo somewhere, there might be more cars than people there, because the organization has been captured by the elites. Yeah. And the people are now, it's conspicuous consumption. I see Comrade Javera driving a BMW. Then I start looking around, how do I get money to compete with him? That's why corruption came in.
Yeah.
So it is not a question of being critical or being bravery or anything like that. As you know that some of us continue to do our civic duty. I'm running an organization called Community Skills Development Foundation, which is training young people, taking young people out of the street to give them skills. I don't know who any other person is doing that. I'm doing that freely. I'm not benefiting anything, but I owe something to the community.
Yeah. Let's go back to addressing issues internally and fixing things. By 2004, 2005 and 6, you were one of the people who, I understand, stood up in a central committee meeting and defended a motion or pleaded with your colleagues to not expel Nyamu. And I understand when you did that, you did it because to say it does not serve the party to go after people. At least let's try and rehabilitate. I think you became unpopular, and that is one of the opinions I think that made you unpopular within the party. But my issue is really that, was there a culture of people actually standing up for principle within the party structure, especially when it comes to the issues of discussing unity and wrongdoing, to say I'm defending this position because I feel this is wrong. It's not as a matter of principle. It's wrong. Let's try alternative. The other issue is, I think I'll just expand on my colleague Toivo's question that about people who are now speaking out when they are outside. My disappointment has always been that with people with leadership positions in Swapo, when something happens, a scandal happens, it's very rare that you find them standing up and saying, look, I think this is not part of Swapo character. Can the comrade explain? There's an allegation of A, B, C, and D. The comrade should explain or be at least suspended. That culture is not there. We don't see it. We don't hear about it. That Comrade Nahas Angula stood up and said, look, this issue of AVED or this issue of fish rot, we want it done. But the moment the person is outside of those party structures, then all of a sudden they speak about it. So this is where the criticism comes, that's where the perception has been formed that people only become brave when they're outside of the party structures. And I think that's the question I want to ask. Is it true that there's a culture of not speaking up when something wrong is happening within the party, especially by those within the party structures?
I think that is a complete misunderstanding of how organizations work. If you are party of the organization, you have an opportunity to use the structures of organization to express yourself. It might not come out in the public, but we have been doing that. When Nyamo was expelled, obviously, of course, he violated certain party principles with his notes. But he was supposed to be brought before some kind of a disciplinary committee and say, explain yourself. It's either you withdraw those notes, or you leave the party because you don't believe in a collective leadership, and so on. It happened also to Ngurare and them the other time. I stood up in the Central Committee and said that, hey, look, you should follow due process. Because I believe in justice, I believe in fairness, to treat other people fairly. That's why I'm in trouble when I'm speaking for Comrade Jerry. That is what I believe in. And I have no any other structure to go and say so, because I'm outside the structures. I'll just say it as a citizen. That's it. But if you follow the history of Swapo, I alluded to what happened in Lusaka in 1975. Eventually, those young people, many of them were rehabilitated, and they came back to Swapo. Some of them became senior commanders in the Namibia Defense Force and all that kind of thing. Swapo had that culture of, well, humanist era.
Sorry, for the record, the 75 incident, you are referring to the so-called Shipanga Rebellion.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. No. I think the context is clear. We go for a small break and return.
For news-related or advertising queries, contact irongotalk@synergy.com.na. Irongo Talk, our community, your news.
A single step. A decision to open the door, to see what's out there, to see what's inside you, what the world has to offer, what you can give, what you're made of as you dream about what you can make. You will build and you will fall, but each day you will be wiser, stronger, and above the rest. You will soar. And one day, even as you keep moving forward, you'll pause to take a look back. You'll reflect on all you've learned, on all you've seen and everything you have done. And you'll be grateful you took that first, single step on a journey of discovery at the Northwest University.
The conversation continues on the agenda with Tileni Mongudhi and Nahas Angula. Now, Uncle Nahas, you alluded to something that I wanted us to actually now start discussing, which is now the Swapo Congress. And you spoke about how your views that Jerry Kanjo must be treated fairly have landed you in some sort of trouble. We have seen statements being issued by State House, which I didn't understand, to be honest, because I didn't understand what our Alfredo Hengari was trying to say in that statement, because you said that President Hage Geingob must listen to the Jerry concern. And President Hage Geingob did exactly that by convening a Central Committee meeting on Friday. I mean, what does it say? Is it again the vilification of people that, for example, I mean, there's a fallout of some sort between yourself and some of the comrades after the 2017 Congress, but is that part of why you are being treated that way?
Well, they have the right to defend themselves. Everybody has the right to defend himself. My position is simply this. If you did me a favor yesterday, perhaps you bought me a punya or whatever, and today you do something bad, that punya you bought for me yesterday does not absolve you from being fair.
Yeah.
Today also. I'm not saying you should repeat buying me punya or whatever. That's not what I'm simply saying. Is that the Comrade Jerry's issue, yes, it's legal, but it's not purely just legal, it's political. Perception out there, in the public, feel that Comrade Jerry deserves to be heard.
Yeah.
And perhaps to be given a chance to advance his political ambitions, and so on. But at least he deserves to be heard.
Yeah.
By the party. Because the way the Central Committee handled these elections was also questionable. Comrade Kawana has been arguing that the Helmut Amendment go parallel with the transitional arrangements. Perhaps it is so, but the transitional arrangement were protecting the interest of those who were in the Central Committee before. Not just somebody who come from outside and you get a privilege which was not meant for you.
Yeah.
So at the start, when these elections took place, something was wrong there. Okay, that has happened. Comrade Kapofi decided that perhaps it's not worth it. So he withdrew. But the point is that there was no kind of a ceiling that you had to receive some percentage of the votes for you to be able to be included.
Yeah.
In there's nothing like that. So Jerry said, yes, you mistreated me there, you extended the privilege to people who are not entitled to that privilege. Now, since one of them had dropped out, let me replace that one. I think it's a fair demand, but they are there, the Central Committee, they have to deal with it. I'm only saying that justice should be seen to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Tileni, moving away from the Jerry issue, what has been your impression so far of the build-up to the Congress? I'm asking this question because someone told me that these campaigns, as much as there are new rules now that are supposed to keep the party intact, are actually more vicious than even 2017.
I think I'm almost inclined to say leopard doesn't change its spots.
Yeah.
My history is, let me start with covering Swapo political pro events and so forth, starting in 2004. What I've seen is that there is a very heartless, vicious animal within Swapo, which creeps out whenever there are contests. And part of that animal is the so-called, or the not so-called, the hypocrisy in terms of leadership. And by that, I'm going to say this, that from, say, 2004 up to now, there's always been complaints about how the person who's in charge of the party circumvented the rules to favor Nahas or to favor Toivo, you know. There were always those things. And today, Uncle Nahas is here talking about how Jerry Kanjo was ill-treated. And again, the rules were, you know, conveniently applied or enforced to favor specific people. Now, my biggest concern has always been that Swapo, the dishonesty within the ruling party's leadership structures is such that we go back to 2002 even. There was an animal called Ananias Ngifitikeko. Then 2004 came, then the leadership of the party was split. You had so-called Msati clique and so-called Ohangwena clique. And then again, tribal issues were being made and the fights became tribal. It pit neighbors against neighbors, you know, the ordinary people hating each other for no good reason, just because at the time, perhaps Nahas and Hidipo or Bohamba did not see eye to eye, you know. Then you get that issue where people were accusing each other of vile things, called each other vile things, they name-calling, mudslinging, but no evidence was brought forward. We just had a situation where people's names are just being identified, some people's bedroom issues were being brought to the fore. And it became worse in 2017 with, it seems, the current leadership employing mercenaries, so to call them. And they call themselves the Swapo Party Defense League. Yeah. And these people, they specialize in going onto social media and creating all sorts of dirty stories about other people just to discredit the character of the people. Now, I'm saying, through that history, if the people in the leadership could not have the guts and the frame of mind to stand up and say, comrades, this is a problem. Yeah. Because some of them today are crying foul that yes, they are being targeted by the other camps, shenanigans and so on. But my question is, where were you? Not to say that you were going to be in Nahas's corner when he was being vilified, but to say, guys, this is wrong. Can we change this, and can we please put these people who are attacking Nahas, to call them to order? Because if there's a problem, Nahas must face the leadership. Yeah. The things must be formalized. Here's a complaint against him. It's documented. Then he faces the leadership. Now people did not say that. They kept quiet. Because it was convenient at the time. They are not the ones on the receiving end. Now they are being attacked, and now they want to cry foul. Yeah. To the point where they are even accusing journalists of all sorts of things. Being paid, and he's in this camp and that camp because he's not defending me or whatever. So I'm saying this is a disease that has been in Swapo for a very long time. And if Swapo and its leadership cannot be honest and say, can we deal with this mudslinging and this character assassination issues? And those party leaders found to be wanting and found guilty of this should be dealt with, because it's destroying the party. I think Uncle Nahas can maybe...
Yeah, your impression so far, Uncle?
Well, underlying all these things is actually the economic motivation. People think that if I support this candidate and this candidate wins, I will have a position somewhere. Or I will have access to tenders or similar things, self-enrichment kind of schemes. So people go out, you have strange now names like foot soldiers. In Swapo, used to call each other cadres. It's a cadre of the party. we never had a thing called foot soldiers. That was a formulation of Kufutu and others. So these are people who are clearly being induced, given some material benefit, not because they believe in your philosophy or in your political position, but because they are benefiting, and they hope that if you win, they will continue to benefit.
Yeah.
It's really the material inducement which is bringing this faceless people who attack people there on the social media. And of course, social media is also a loose platform. A person can name himself for crocodile and start insulting you. And you don't know who is this crocodile. So that Nifitikeko or something. Yeah, so, but the Nifitikeko, at least he used to print something. If you carefully follow, you might decide that this printing was done at this type of typewriter or whatever, and perhaps try to discover who is possessing this type of typewriters. But now with social media, it's just somebody there. Somebody X, somebody Malcolm X, or whoever, start attacking you. So, but the fundamental thing, the divisions which you have in the country are economic divisions. People use all sorts of things. Somebody will say, I'm landless, just to attract the attention of the landless, or I'm homeless, and they use the homeless people as a ladder to get into parliament and get a salary there. So it is also what is happening internally in Swapo. If you follow these social media postings, it's basically people who are trying to align themselves with potential candidates in the hope that in the future they will. But if your candidate does not win, you might even suffer more marginalization economically if you are not careful.
Can I ask? I want to go into the issue of. You said cadres and the
foot soldier.
No, I'm talking about the cadres now. Let's talk about how Swapo allows people to come into leadership position, because I think you alluded to the fact that of late you no longer have people who have the party's or the masses' interest at heart. You no longer. It's a different type of cadre. There's a new type of cadre who's in the position only to advance themselves economically. Now, this speaks to also the rules in terms of who qualifies to run for office and who does not. There's been a lot of controversies around the party rules in terms of qualifying people to run for office, whether it's central committee, whether it's wings leadership, and there's this so-called vetting committees within the party, which seems to be only made up by whoever is the Secretary General or whoever is the President. And those rules, there are no fixed rules to say if Nahas did not meet this criteria, therefore he must not come in. Then they say, then tomorrow you find that the rules are saying, no, you must have been in this position for 5 years. But because now Nahas is the favorite of Toivo, who's the SG, all of a sudden then the SG says, no, Nahas must just qualify. So what happened there, and how can that be solved in terms of the party internal mechanisms? Because it seems the party right now is being run at the behest of whoever is in charge and how they feel. There are no rules, it seems, or the rules are not uniform, and they are not applied.
Once you have a political party which does not have a political vision, that party is likely to be infiltrated by anybody, because there is no glue which binds you together that you have these ideals you want to achieve as a political party. So people come in, those who are looking for jobs, those who are looking for tenders, and as long as he's supporting me, fine. You don't know what this person says. Look at the composition of the Swapo parliament team now. Just look at them. We have too many issues in this country. Why don't you take up the issue of malnutrition and be your flagship in the parliament today? Why don't you take up the issue of youth unemployment? Why don't you take up the issue of housing? People are just sitting there reading the social media. Then the opposition is riding the wave. And you are the majority there. What's this? It's because the quality, the kind of people we put there, were not put there because of any criteria or any competence. It's simply because you put on a Swapo color garment, you know how to sing, and you know how to ingratiate leaders. That's it. That's the criteria.
Exactly.
Then who suffers? It's the public.
Yeah.
Who exercises who invested their vote in Swapo party. But Swapo party puts people who cannot defend the public interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get it. In fact, President Hage Geingob had to complain a year or two ago that the Swapo MPs were actually trailing the opposition in terms of ideas, the battle of ideas. It was so embarrassing.
But are these not his MPs? Are these not the people he campaigned for? I mean, I cannot defend President Geingob when it comes to post-2017 Swapo party leaderships, because as far as I remember, he stood up in the Central Committee and even and publicly said that these are the people I want to work with. And if you look at it, it seems even at the Electoral College, the majority of the people on the party list are those who were seen to be in his camp. Those are the people he wanted to work with. So why are they not carrying out his vision, if he has a vision? Why are they not implementing the party manifesto, which he also presided over? So there's a lot of contradiction here. And the president must bring us into his confidence and tell us that what he feels. Either he failed, or the people he thought could implement failed him. And then we look at it differently, because you cannot tell me that I only want to work with Nahas, and then when Nahas is not implementing and not coming to the party, then I'm now complaining publicly that that Nahas, I brought him here, he's not doing anything. He's just allowing Toivo to attack me.
I hear you. We have to go for a quick break again and return.
AgriMonitor is jou weeklikse landboukundige program wat jou die jongste nuus in die landbouverwante bedryf en onderwerpe wat daaraan gekoppel is bring. Vir enige advertensie of nuusverwante navraag, kontak agrimonitor@synergy.com.na.
Flex is your health and fitness show that focuses on the health of the mind, body, and spirit. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact zone@synergy.com.na.
I studied medicine.
I studied geology.
I studied a Bachelor of Science.
You start to heal people, touch patients, you touch lives, you save lives, you realize this is really what you want to do and you never get tired.
Having graduated from the University of Namibia, I was able to open my own law firm and help people attend to their legal problems.
Let's do the things that must be done and make it great.
If you want to do it, just do it.
That's what I wanted to do.
So the sky is the limit.
My UNAM, my pride.
La la
We have entered the last part of the show. Former Prime Minister, one of the things that we've seen in these campaigns so far, the media headlines about, there was a news article about Obed Kanjo, the New Era on Friday had Nahas Angula being probed on Fish Road. The Prime Minister gets always dragged into the farm issue that she and her husband sold. Netumona Ndaitwa gets dragged into the fact that she's a product of a very controversial Congress of 2017 that was funded with Fish Road money. And I sit here and ask myself, is there actually any credible people left in Swapo? How can we as a nation be presented with people that seemingly, if the credibility of those allegations is there, all of them are somehow tainted?
Well, that is the perception in the public out there, that if you are associated with somebody who's suspected of wrongdoing or something like that, people will perceive you to be part of it and all that. Mm. The unfortunate about this is this, that whoever emerges and will be present to the public 2024, this person is going to have an uphill battle, especially the fact that the way they are presenting themselves, it is all manicured smiles, it's optics. Some of them are there seen as if they are philosopher kings seeking God's intervention or something like that. And then nothing is saying anything about the bread and butter issues of the country. Perhaps they are trying to avoid that. They don't want to put a blame to the government of which they are party. Mm. But at the end of the day, as we are facing 2024, eventually somebody has to say something. And that is where the campaign will become
vicious.
Yeah, vicious. Mm. Because you will now say, I was not part of Fish Road. But you know that your victory was funded by Fish Road. Who was part of it? Mm. If we were not part of it, and all that. So the opposition there, I'm quite sure they are smiling. It is unfortunate that we as a liberation movement are faced with this kind of a situation. Mm-hmm. I don't think that if we were a party of a slate, even if we were not aware how that slate won, if the slate won because of certain public resources which were used to induce people, you are just equally guilty. Mm. So you cannot tell me that this one is the one who benefited from Fish Road and this one didn't benefit. After all, some of them are going to be state witnesses. Mm. You cannot predict what will happen in a court when the lawyers start questioning you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you cannot predict what will happen there if this case ever comes into the court. Mm. Most of them are state witnesses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mongudhi, we saw the decision by President Hage Geingob not to endorse anyone. Is it, in your reading, a principled decision for a man who wants to be a father to all, or was it purely on political convenience?
Okay. You see, you have to follow history. Mm. And leaders, you have to follow their track record before you can make such a judgment. I would like to think that maybe the angel in President Geingob prevailed and found that, okay, these things of camps and splitting people did not work, it's not working. And maybe he wants to come leave a proper legacy of bringing about democracy and impartiality in the party and allowing the best candidate to win without any sort of assistance and interventions with the what you call it, the third forces of state machinery and all of these other unseen issues and things. So that's the hope. But I'm following back, tracking back. If it's common cause, some of us have written about it, that the same president had promised others positions in the past, and then he withdrew that support at the last minute to go with someone else. And also now, we were hearing that there were clandestine meetings at his house to endorse a certain candidate or to say, no, I think we must support this candidate. So the fact that it's not public does not mean that, because the one thing that Swapo is very bad at is actually keeping secrets. that's the one thing.
It's a mass movement.
Yeah. So you hear these things creeping out there that, no, the president is actually supporting this one, or the president is also supporting that one, or the president said, no, this one must also come. So I still feel that it's political convenience, unless proven otherwise, that maybe something else prevailed in there. But the way I'm seeing it is, there's a game. The president is holding his cards close to his chest. He's probably made certain calculations and certain observations, and therefore he probably is playing it safe, and he doesn't want to make a radical decision. Either that, or it could also be that he's doing it because he doesn't have faith in any of the current candidates.
Yeah. Your reading, Uncle, of this situation, because again, you can't just leave these things to the whims of whoever is in charge of the party, that okay, in 2022 there was no such endorsement, then 2027 again, whoever is the leader of the party, or then they endorse who they want. Should there be a clear-cut, in black and white position in the party to say an incumbent may not endorse anyone, or is it a democratic right also for the incumbent to say, look, I'm also a party member. If I like Toivo, I will go for Toivo. And you're reading in Hage's decision not to endorse anyone.
Well, I think this is a good favor to the candidates. Because if you're a candidate and you stood by yourself, your ideals, your vision of the future, and you win, you owe nobody anything.
Yeah.
You are by yourself. You make your own independent decisions. You don't look back and say that, oh, after all, I was put here by somebody else. So you are free. So I think it's the candidates who should thank the president. Secondly, the idea of endorsement is actually a feudal idea. As you said earlier, why should you want to treat your children differently? Treat them equal, and let them find their way on the ground. You tamper here, you do what, stand up, start running, become strong, and all that. So, and also the fact that earlier the president gave the impression that he only wants to work with certain people. That's not good for a mass movement. Progress in nature comes around because when you try to solve contradictions, somebody will come up with a good idea in the process of debate and all that. But if everybody's just nodding ahead, there will not be any progress. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, Mongudhi, again, let me paint a scenario for you here. You guys at the Namibian reported that there's some sort of discord between the president and the Secretary General. And the rest of us in the media have reported that there was some silent fallout between the president and his vice president in the party. And for me, when I see that President Geingob did not endorse Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, as has been the so-called tradition in the party, that perhaps it affirms those rumors that there's been some fallout of some sort. If Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah wins the vice presidency and Sophia Shaningwa wins the Secretary General's position, how are they going to work with Hage Geingob as president of the party?
Well, you don't need to be friends to work with these people with each other. I think President Pohamba and President Nyoma have proven that. They've worked with people who were considered their adversaries within the party structures and within government structures as well. And I think they managed that fallout differently. I'm not going to say they treated it better than the current president, but I just say they managed it differently from the current president. Now, when you publicly declare that I want to work with Toivo at the expense of Nahas, and then all of a sudden I'm no longer interested in Toivo, it says two things. Either there was a serious fallout after the decision to endorse you, or my decision to endorse you was not genuine.
Yeah.
It again came from political maneuvering and horse trading, as opposed to actually me believing that I think Toivo can lead, and Toivo is the man for the future after me. So that's where it is, because at the end of the day, it was, we all wrote about it, that there was horse trading, decisions were made, compromises were made. Now, the other issue is also that the fallout, again, especially with the Secretary General, who is the chief administrator of the party and in charge of the party structures and so on, with the president, also speaks to a silent issue, which is, it seems their interests are no longer aligned. So the only reason why you have a fallout like that is because the president probably feels the Secretary General is not acting either in the party ideals or in his own ideals. Or the Secretary General feels that, no, the president is veering from the party structures and rules and norms. So you need to now find what went wrong. And the way things are going at Congress speaks to a fallout where the president is not prepared to support the team that he said he only wants to work with in 2017.
Indeed. I had to stop you there, Mongudhi. I think that you've made a very brilliant point there. Gentlemen, it has been a pleasure having you on the platform.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Toivo.
Yes. That was tonight's show. Thank you for watching.